exclusive, War at the Rock, an epic story of love and hate, a polygamy standoff in the Utah desert.
The very first commandment that God gave Adam was to multiply. He doesn't give dirty commandments, he gave a clean one.
A beautiful model who fled the world of multiple wives for freedom and love in the mainstream.
Your typical 18, 19-year-old.
The man who tried to stop her going back to these polygamist caves.
She thought she was going to follow her fate.
And the love child caught in the middle. War at the Rock, a polygamy standoff.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of A Current Affair. Robbie and Anna Zella fell in love and had a daughter. Sounds ordinary enough. It's anything but. Their epic story of love and hate and warring over the custody of their daughter is just the tip of a volcanic, violent history of a polygamous family that dates back decades. And the setting for that war could not be more spectacular or remote.
It may be one of the most beautiful places in the continental United States. A stunning menagerie of red rock domes, sandstone arches, and desert monoliths.
Well, I feel like it's sacred.
And in this network of caves, modernized and outfitted with generators and water tanks, a small spiritual community seems to thrive in the place they call The Rock.
It's serene and quiet, and we thought it was a good place to raise children.
Then why would this man object so strenuously to his daughter living here? The answer is rooted in a controversy that has polarized the state of Utah since thousands of Mormon pioneers crossed the plains and settled along the Great Salt Lake some 150 years ago.
Polygamy.
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 I don't want my daughter to be a fourth-generation polygamist.
Here's Robbie Sweeten in the days before he was drawn into the polygamy storm. Carefree and crossing continents as a male model. For a time, Robbie was so successful that he lectured aspiring models on the business. And it was at a modeling school in Salt Lake City that he met a stunning young woman named Anna Zella Swap.
She was your typical 18, 19-year-old, drinking, going out, and life is a party. She was cute, and I wanted to know more about her background.
That background was a fascinating one. Anna Zella came from a militant polygamist family. But by the time she met Robbie, she seemed to be forging her own path.
She said her dad was crazy. She literally said he was crazy and that he spoke to God and he was really religious.
The couple plunged into a romance, but Robbie was still living fast until he received a piece of news that changed his life.
I went to Aruba with a few of my friends and hit Miami airport and I had 23 messages all saying, "I'm pregnant with your baby, I'm pregnant with your baby."
Anna Zella was determined to keep the child, so Robbie took a computer networking job and the couple moved into his stepmother's house in Utah, where on June 4th, 2001, their daughter Jordan was born.
I would sing songs to her when she was upset or she was crying or cranky. We'd go out into the yard and pick flowers and look at bugs, go to the park. We really read a lot. That's our most favorite thing to do in the world.
Robbie conjures up far less emotion, talking about his early years with Anna Zella.
I loved Anna Zella, but I was never in love with Anna Zella. I had a lot of empathy towards her, but essentially I became her father.
Anna Zella's attorney, Leonard Garber.
They split up, got back together, split up, got back together.
At a certain point, in the midst of all this uncertainty, Anna Zella began retreating towards her fundamentalist past.
No one who knew her would have ever guessed she would go in this direction. She was a wild child.
But Anna Zella's childhood was different than most, and even depicted in a made-for-TV movie, Siege at Marion. Anna Zella's maternal grandfather, John Singer, was a Mormon fundamentalist. In other words, he rejected the modern teachings of the mainline Mormon Church, also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS.
The fundamentalists think that the LDS Church were traitors somewhat because they discontinued plural marriage.
John Llewellyn is a former polygamist and sheriff's deputy who's written several books critical of plural marriage.
The fundamentalists felt that if the church had held out, that Jesus Christ would have come and set things in order.
In 1979, John Singer decided that he'd have to put things in order himself.
The story is that he pulled the children out of school because he didn't believe in the things they were being taught. The inside story is the reason they pulled the children out was because they were being taught alongside black children.
In fact, the state threatened to arrest John Singer for child neglect.
At that point, he had a confrontation right here on this site with Utah Highway Patrol officers.
The state law enforcement waited for him to collect his mail, and he pulled a revolver and they blew him away. But I was a deputy sheriff at the time. I was watching what was going on, and I think it could have been handled different. I think that his death was unnecessary.
So did Anna Zella's father, a young polygamist named Adam Swap, who was so taken with the story of John Singer that he married 2 of the Singer daughters, including Anna Zella's mother, Heidi.
He loved these girls, and I think he was infatuated with the story of the trials of John Singer. And he was so obsessed with it that he carried it on.
Adam Swap supposedly came down from his home and placed an explosive charge in this church.
War at the Rock polygamy standoff continues in a moment.